All right. Okay. So, it's about 7 past now. I think people might still come in a bit later. We don't need to wait for everyone right now.
I think so too.
But yeah, it's nice to see you, Ralph and Andrew, and everyone who's here today joining us. This is our very first AMA session. So we're quite new at this, but we're real fans of the whole question and answer, and we want to get people to talk and chat. And if you have any questions, off to the right, there's the option to ask questions. So the very last option on the interface to the right, you can ask a question. It'll pop up with us, and we'll answer the question for you, and then we'll push it to the answered bar. And you can raise your hand before that so that we know that you actually have a question. So let me start off with a bit of an introduction. Ralph and I, we run Lemoncube together, and we co-founded Qfour.ai, which is an e-learning and edtech venture for development of digital learning platforms and business skill courses. And Lemoncube's a digital agency. Ralph's been running it for a very long time, and I came on as managing partner about 2 years ago. We work with digital strategy. We create digital marketing strategies, social media management, content writing in the works. And I am location independent currently, as location independent as you can be during a worldwide pandemic. And so I'm kind of location independent, but stuck in Taiwan at the same time. And Ralph is currently stuck in Germany.
That's true. Yeah, stuck in Germany. That's true.
And Andrew, if you flip your computer screen a bit towards you, we'll be able to see your face. There you go.
All right. Oh, there
Awesome.
we go.
Andrew is a good friend of mine here in Taiwan. He's a great guy. He runs a huge entrepreneur group here in Taipei. He runs a 2.4K Facebook group with a bunch of very talented entrepreneurs, business people, mentors. He does a lot of mentoring here in Taiwan, and he's helped me with a lot of things, including motivation to run our business. And he's also the founder of Abled Minds Taiwan, which empowers entrepreneurs with disabilities. So we're really happy to have him here today as well.
Thank
you. We're happy to have all of you here. I've co-managed the Asian chapter of Lemoncube and Qfour.ai. Ralph is the CEO and founder. He's got extensive experience in training, pedagogy. Oh, we've got someone else come in. Hi there. Your name is a bunch of Ks, but hello. I hope you can hear us. If you can hear us, raise your hand. And if you can't, feel free to send a chat message my way. Oh, Mickey can't hear anything. He's on mobile. I'll message him. Might need to configure your audio and mic settings. So if you're here on mobile, there are a couple of functionalities that don't work, but they shouldn't actually impair your listening and speaking abilities. I test ran it with Andrew's mobile a couple days ago. So
it should work, yeah, on mobile. And
come back in. There we go. Well, I'll try and get Mickey to leave the app and come back in. If ever anyone else is having problems with audio and video, it pays to get out of the system and come back in and restart the audio. So whoever just came in also says they can hear. Very good. It seems like at least most of the people can hear, and Mickey can let us know if he doesn't. Right. So I've got the introductions going. I've been in Taiwan for about 3 years on and off. I was location independent until I couldn't be anymore. And now I've kind of settled down in Taiwan with an entrepreneur visa, which is a very interesting program that the Ministry of Economics in Taiwan offers for budding entrepreneurs who'd like to start building a business in Taiwan. And I've been co-running Lemoncube and Qfour.ai from here, and we're thinking of opening a branch office or a completely new company in Taiwan here. So I'm going to pass on the mic to Ralph and Andrew to introduce themselves a bit, and then we can get on with the AMA session. All right, Ralph?
I think I will start because it's a quick introduction, because Claudia did this all for me perfectly, as I'm saying so. And yeah, I'm Ralph, founder and CEO for Lemoncube and Qfour.ai, based in Germany, traveling around Europe and Edinburgh and also Spain. So I'm not independent as a digital nomad, but just traveling around Europe and working wherever I can. And my experience is just also 20 years of training and coaching. And after always customer ask me, what can we do in the digital area? I started Lemoncube with the service, also with Lemoncube Learning. And from there on, we are starting now Qfour.ai as an AI-based, human-balanced learning platform. That's a short introduction from my side. I think Claudia introduced me perfectly before.
All right, thanks, Ralph. Moving on to Andrew.
Okay, hi guys. Yes, I'm Andrew Clerk, originally from South Africa. Been living in and out of Taiwan for, I think, about the past 17 years. Before COVID, it was sort of more out of Taiwan, but I used Taiwan as a base for many years. And yes, so fortunately, been stuck here for a year and a half since COVID kicked off. I'm one of the few people who are so grateful that I was not allowed to fly anywhere. And yeah, I've got my background started basically in high school with business. I'm from a very, very practical business background. I'm not in the technology space at all, even though I am involved in a banking technology company, but more from a business development side, definitely not the tech. Anything tech goes right over my head. But I had an export company for 26 years. We had offices in 57 countries in the world for that export company. I passed the company on literally 2 months before COVID kicked in. And so yeah, that's quite a lucky break for me there. But I've also additionally had an investment company for 17 years, and we've focused and specialized on providing training to people with physical disabilities in Africa, to provide them with entrepreneurial training and then helping them to set up their businesses. In the time that I was, for the 19 years that I was head of that organization called Abled Minds Africa, we funded over 730 businesses. Some of them obviously went down. Some of them became actually quite multinational companies within Africa. And yes, so I've basically 3 years ago, I stepped down from Abled Minds Africa. That unfortunately disintegrated because it was a little bit clumsy. It was too large and too widespread, so it sort of disintegrated. But I've now kickstarted Abled Minds in Taiwan again, and yeah, totally different culture. One piece of advice that I can quickly give people: if you have a concept that works in your country, don't think it's going to work in another country, especially if it's a totally different culture. So even with a vast amount of the experience that I have, I screwed up really badly here with it. So it's now about the third time that I had to relaunch Abled Minds Taiwan. So yeah, I'm actually learning as I'm going on. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Awesome.
That sounds
Thanks,
really
Andrew.
interesting. Sounds really interesting from my side.
Yeah,
well, interesting that I'm struggling.
Interesting you're still here. And I have a question right afterwards, but I think, Claudia, maybe you can start. So.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, I know Andrew quite well, and I know that entrepreneurship is a lot about trial and error, but I think Andrew's done a very good job, regardless of how many times you've had to start and restart Abled Minds, that you've been able to build such a big community and have it be very successful. So you're basically proof that it does work in the end.
Yeah, I've never been very good with perseverance because I'm very, very impatient. I just expect things to work from the word go. And yes, I think this time in Taiwan, it really just reminded me how different people are, how different cultures are. It's not so much about because it's a different language, and I don't speak Mandarin. I'm not the best Mandarin speaker, but it's just how differently they do things here. It's a different mindset that has come thousands of years. And for us as foreigners coming in here and thinking our Western concepts are just going to work, it really reminded me that we cannot think that way.
That's good. That's a very good point. We actually have a question from one of our listeners here, from Pedro. Pedro asks for both speakers, assuming meaning myself and Andrew, why Taiwan? Why did we choose Taiwan? Does it give closer access to the Asian markets, or what was the reasoning behind that?
You go.
Me first?
Yes.
I actually, maybe my story isn't quite as straightforward and linear as Andrew's. I actually landed here completely, not by accident, but it was really random. I came here because I was invited by a friend that I had gotten to know while I was living and working in China. And he messaged me completely out of the blue after 7 years of not messaging, being like, oh, hey, how's it going? What are you doing? And I was like, well, I've started freelancing. I'm location independent. And he's like, you should come to Taiwan. Taiwan's great. You'll love it. It'll be better than anything you've ever done before. And I mean, how do you say no to that, right? I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So I was in Vancouver at the time with my parents, and I booked a flight to Taiwan, and I came here and I loved it. And while I was in Taiwan, I realized that it's a great place to be. It's an innovative place. There's a lot of room for growth. There's a very creative culture here when it comes, and a very accepting culture when it comes to entrepreneurs. There's a lot that, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of pitfalls, and there are a lot of stuff that they could do better. However, I do feel very comfortable here, and I feel a lot more comfortable than when I lived in China, just because I have a way to give. I feel I have a way to give back more, especially when it comes to policies and stuff like that. So I'm very comfortable here. That's how I ended up here. Andrew?
Yeah, I think Claudia summed it up very, very well. I'm also in a very comfortable space here. It's I think also because previously most of my business was based outside of Taiwan, and it's a very comfortable place to live in. Its cost of living is not as expensive, especially if you earn money from outside. It's fine. It's nice to live here. It's very safe. I mean, I come from Africa. They're very dangerous, very corrupt. I worked with a lot of governments and military, military, what do you call it? The militaries of countries there, and it was always a nightmare. You had to bribe people. You had to do everything against the law just to actually run charity projects in Africa. And it was just so nice it's just so nice for me now to be here, where I don't have to look over my shoulder all the time. Things do seem quite complicated here, especially like registering. Something done through the government, for instance, either getting a grant or getting in contact with someone. You just have to figure out where's the starting point and then work your way up the ladder and get to that. So it's very different from in other countries. Also, I lived in the UK for a long time with a construction company that I had there, and it was pretty much the same as Africa. it was just so much backstabbing. It was just, it's competition. Here it's more collaboration. It's people really just want to work together and get things done. So I find it very comfortable living here.
Yep, I agree with Andrew. That's basically my take on this as well. We've got more of a statement than a question from Rob, who says, Taiwan is great. He lived there for 3 years. I've actually connecting with people on LinkedIn now. I've met a lot of people who have a background with Taiwan. Either they've studied here or they've worked here. There have been some sort of business connections. So there are definitely a lot of people I'm connecting with now who have ties to Taiwan and are looking, now that Taiwan has this great management of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people are kind of looking towards Taiwan again and wanting to pick up those business connections again. I've got another.
I say from the outside perspective, from Germany, Taiwan is always in papers and news about a module and about the pandemic solutions, and so we hear a lot of Taiwan as an best case scenario. What's the COVID situation style is. So Taiwan is also in the German or European news present.
Yeah, this is very true. I've seen Taiwan pop up in international media very often now, especially with their health tech endeavors, with Audrey Tang, the digital minister here, who's had been programming a lot of the med tech efforts here with the mask rationing system and stuff like that. So yeah, Taiwan's definitely on, in everyone's periphery, at least right now. So Pedro actually had a follow-up question, or he was more interested in knowing what was involved in the decision of relocating to Taiwan specifically, not so much what the environment is like, but that would also be a separate question. So I personally didn't relocate to Taiwan so much as just kind of came here by happenstance. And I think, Andrew, it was more of the same for you as well.
Yeah, it's. I always had when I had my investment company, we used to hedge a lot of money in Taiwan and Singapore and Hong Kong. So, I got to know all the other countries quite well. But Taiwan was always the one where I would walk in and I'm like, wow, I'm actually happy to be here. Singapore and Hong Kong, not so much. So through my business previously, I had to come here like 3-4 times a year. And eventually the time periods just became longer and longer. And eventually I've fortunately found myself basically settled here. But one thing that I will quickly throw in of what makes Taiwan so fascinating and interesting to live in at the moment is because of a vast majority of the foreigners here. I mean, we've got foreigners from virtually every country in the world here. And the connections that you build up is incredible. We've got people in our entrepreneur group, from Russia, from all different kinds of industries, from South American countries, other Asian countries, European countries, all over the world, basically. And they actually all, as a close-knit community. It's not like where it's normally in other countries, like when I lived in the States, for instance, where the Irish people would group together and go to an Irish bar, or the South Africans, like myself, would go for a barbecue and they clump together. Here it's like, it's this massive mix of super interesting people from all over.
Yeah, that's very true. Taiwan has a very diverse international community. So whereas I also found in Germany and when I lived in China as well, the international community there would definitely be, kind of mixing and mingling, but especially in Germany and in European countries, what I found is that international students or international workers would tend to stay within their own kind of nationality clique, as opposed to, mingling with people of
Yeah.
different nationalities. So I definitely appreciate that in Taiwan, because it brings out a lot more diverse opportunities, especially in the business world and when networking. So quickly to add, though, Pedro, I have talked to a lot of people here who have actually relocated, who aren't just here by accident, and they said they did extensive research beforehand. They asked a lot of people what was so great about Taiwan. It was very rare that people who specifically relocated here hadn't been here before. So they would have always maybe had a business trip here before, kind of like Andrew, or they'd been here on vacation or something like that. And they realized, Taiwan's a really great place. There are a lot of really great aspects for me here. And then they looked specifically into relocating. And what was involved in the decision? I guess a high quality of life. Taipei is one of the best cities in the world for expats. You have very stable, high-speed internet, and you have really great living conditions. Sure, the cost of living in Taipei is quite high compared to the rest of Taiwan, but it's higher compared to the rest of Southeast Asia. However, it's still lower than living in most Western countries. In Europe, I know, especially in Germany, the prices in big cities are skyrocketing now. And in Taipei, especially, because everything's very digitally forward here, digitally transformed. You can automate a lot of things. You have most types of contactless payment and app payment and automated streams that you can go through here, where in Germany, that's all just started to kind of come out now due to COVID and due to the pandemic. Germany kind of needed that to push its way into digital transformation. Taiwan has already kind of like passed that and has that established, the bike sharing system, the U-bikes, the bullet trains, everything kind of technologically seamlessly functions.
And that's we are starting this right now, actually, in Germany. And you're right, Claudia. The pandemic are some push, given the push about digital transformation. I'm not sure if we were in this kind of state if the pandemic wasn't started. So I think in one case, and that's not a good saying, but in one case, the pandemic, the COVID situation for the digital transformation was a good, in brackets, a good thing to happen just for the digital transformation, because everyone needs to be now in a digital way. If it's the education sector, if it's the e-commerce sector, if it's the homeschooling, if it's the home working from home, something like that. Starting right now in Germany, per se, pushing really hard now.
Yeah, absolutely. Working from home and remote revolution. Andrew and I were just chatting about this before we started the session. That kind of seems to have passed Taiwan by a little bit because of the good management of COVID-19 here. That we virtually never had to go into lockdown. So we were able to keep a lot of in-person events, and people were able to keep their in-person jobs. So there's been some talk here about if Taiwan has kind of missed like the digital boat, so to say, because the rest of the world has kind of evolved into having like work from home options now, remote working, almost a lot of fully remote positions are popping up. And Taiwan, while the pandemic isn't raging in the country per se, the rest of the world is still kind of digitally moving forward in that respect, while Taiwan has stayed kind of largely offline in that respect. So that is also an interesting thing. Pay off student loans, which is I can imagine that's very important for people, especially from North America. If you're coming here to either teach English or even for entrepreneurship, and you're starting your own business, it's going to be cheaper here in a lot of ways and more budget option than in North America. And B, to get affordable medical support. So yeah, the healthcare system here, the national health insurance system is very good. That is definitely to be considered if you're planning on relocating here. It's one of the best Medicare systems in the world, actually. I read recently.
Yeah. No, I can definitely second that one. Sorry, Rolf, carry on.
Yeah, no problem. Just asking from my side and popping in my mind about my topic. How is the digital education, the digital learning sector in Taiwan in the moment? Can you answer me this? Because I can answer this from our perspective, but how is it in the moment in Taiwan? Did they start, or did they already have a lot of education sectors starting? Schools are digital or whatever? I'm not sure.
So it's an interesting topic because since we've been working on Qfour.ai, I've kind of been putting my feelers out here in business events and networking sessions and talking to people involved in the edtech sector. And fact is what I've been told is there are maybe startups or companies maybe that you can count on one or two hands here that are actually truly into edtech and e-learning. A lot of you have to differentiate edtech and e-learning here a bit because you'll have the online learning, like the synchronous learning where people do self-paced learning. Then you'll have blended learning options where there's also the option of learning self-paced and with a trainer. And then you'll have edtech ventures that maybe don't necessarily have anything to do with training per se, but they're tools, tech tools to augment education experience, like, for example, digital scanners and stuff like that, and maybe learning platforms. But I have heard that it's not as broad and diverse of an area as you may think it would be, considering that, Audrey Tang as digital minister and the whole automation and medical technology industry here is quite proficient. So I have met people in the edtech sector here. It's just not very popularized, I guess I would say.
Okay.
Not so many people know about it. I know the Ministry of Education here has education technology initiatives. They have e-learning initiatives. You just don't hear about it as much as you hear about, for example, Taiwan's manufacturing industries, semiconductors, medical technology, Gogoro maybe, automotive and robotics and stuff like that.
Funny enough, last week I attended some webinar about a survey was talking about the learning and development with people and what's going hot in 2021. And one of the topics are going down for 2021 is actually AI, also artificial intelligence in education or in learning, and the augmented and virtual reality point of view going down in the perspective from learning and development people in companies. And I think that's interesting because one point of the pandemic shows us and me that we are with Qfour.ai. AI is our base, of course, also artificial intelligence is our base, but the human balanced sector is also important. Like if you stay in like in Germany, that's one thing maybe differently in Taiwan and Asia, because in Germany we're in lockdown, more or less in lockdown, and people are not or going in the companies or learning in schools, whatever, or going to seminars and offline. They are learning self-paced or in a Zoom call, but self-paced. And I think that's basically changing when the pandemic is over, because from my perspective, people want to interact like we right now interact with people, with human people, and having a call and a coach who's really in the room, in the virtual room, not in the offline room, in the virtual room. But the whole sector of self-paced and something, it's growing maybe slowly because everyone from a business perspective saying it's a good way to make money, because you develop one course and you can sell it whatever you want to sell it and all over again. But from my perspective and from Q4 perspective, it's not the way to go in the future. I think the blended learning and the human balanced learning, so that's what we call it. It's the way we go in the future. And we develop an AI base because we're thinking the AI can combine all these things together and helping people to predict causes and helping people to say, okay, I'm maybe 12 p.m. and midnight. It's no coach available, a real coach available. Maybe I can talk to an AI coach, but not just an exclusive solution like a combined and hybrid solution. And I think the way to go forward is really the blended learning, the human-based learning, including the human in the tech or the tech in the human behavior, not separately. And I think it's a problem what not everybody, but most people saying it's all digital and we want to go in digital, but they don't get the human touch. They missing the human touch. And my perspective, with everything, we need a human touch included in everything in the moment. It's nice to have all digital, talking to some chatbot, but basically in one case, maybe 1 from 10 cases, we need a human touch. And I think the survey, going backward to the survey, it's really interesting to see because L&D people saying AI and augmented reality is not a topic what we going on in 2021. It's more social learning. It's more up and reskilling people in-house for a company. And it's more the human-based learning. That's more of that.
Yeah, I can imagine that after, over a year now of persistent lockdowns, that people are starting to just get burned out by having Zoom calls and not being able to go into work, not being able to interact face to face, and especially going to work and learning. They used to, and I mean, they still are very social activities. So this socializing, there has to be a way or a platform or a way to facilitate doing that virtually as well. But, kind of traversing this fine line of not getting burned out by doing everything virtually. So I think if you're adding an AI element and more automation and more machines doing things for you, there also needs to be that augmented, we still have a human aspect in this because interacting with a human is still a very different experience than interacting with a machine.
And speaking of which, and that's why we move in from a webinar that we tried to implement in our Lemoncube to now this kind of AMA sessions, because, and maybe you can tell the participants too, Claudia, we can interact with you as a participant now on the stage. If you want to go on stage with us right now and asking us on stage, we can do this. So we want to interact with you right now, not just have a webinar, like now we're talking 3 people. If you want to go on stage with us, I think, Claudia, that's right. We can include one or 2 participants on our stage and we can discuss in a bigger room if you want to. And that's the kind of interaction, actually, what it's in the future like. Not like a webinar or like a self-paced course. It's an interaction, human balanced, digital solution.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to make our events or our talks and online activities more interactive as well, so that it's not kind of a top-down listening approach, but that people can also interact, ask questions, talk as well. If you'd like to come on as a speaker and take the stage, we're definitely up for that. In addition, if you'd like to ask if English isn't your native language and you'd like to ask a question in a different language, I also speak fluent Chinese and German. If you feel comfortable asking a question in those languages, you can. Otherwise, I can also use Google Translate. We'll answer in English, but we're still open to that. So don't be shy, ask us questions, and raise your hand or let us know if you'd like to come on stage after this. We're going to have a little networking session. AirMeet does have a very cool function called virtual networking tables. However, they haven't rolled that out for mobile yet. You do need to be on a laptop in order to use that function. Essentially what it is once we end the session here on stage, you go back and into the lounge, quote unquote, and from the lounge you'll see a bunch of these networking tables, so 4 people per table, and you can click yourself into these virtual networking tables and network kind of as if you were doing it in person and sitting at a table with someone. Not quite, but that's what they're trying to emulate. Because there aren't a whole crowd of people today. I was thinking that afterwards we might just open it up and put people on stage and people can introduce themselves and we can network together on here. So we actually have another question from Pedro. He's asking, what's the state of the art of AI on EdTech, and how do you think it will evolve in the future? That's a question for Ralph, probably.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, because I'm thinking about 2 years now implanting artificial intelligence, AI, in the education sector and the learning sector. And for now, it's all going predict courses, of course, talking, asking questions with an AI-based chatbot. But from my perspective, we're doing this, we will implement it. But from my perspective, it's not the key feature in the moment what the people are seeing and can really expect from an AI. So it's not like the real feature, the hot feature, what we can take out from an AI based platform. But the best thing to do in a moment, and we will do this, is predict courses for your needs. For example, when you go on our platform in the future, after a while you get in micro courses, micro blocks, not whole courses, micro blocks of learning content for your needs, because we know, or the platform knows a bit of what you're doing. That's one thing. And the other thing is we will implant later on an AI-based coach, so to compare with a real coach. So, for example, you can talk to a coach for business problems, with a chatbot for business problems. If you have a problem in a team, you can talk to him what kind of solutions are the best way to solve some problems in a team. It's not a real coach, but it's called combining with a real face coach. That will be implanted. So, but it's not I think we are not on the point of that's the best thing to do with the AI, but we get in there, I think.
Yeah, so seconding what Ralph said, we've been working extensively with learning experience platforms now, and so this customized, personalized learning experience where it basically functions as a quote-unquote Netflix for learning, the way Netflix algorithm suggests, or the way YouTube as well suggests videos and TV shows and movies and content based on your preferences, based on data that it's accumulated on your actions over time, that it will suggest the best things for you.
Can I include something? And what our goal is, our goal for Qfour.ai is to bring the content, the learning to you, or not you need to go in the platform. So we want to go not as a PC or app-based platform. We won't go in the future like you have an Apple Watch or something, smartwatch, and you can have the whole content in the podcast on your Apple Watch. If you go walking or go in the gym, you can say, okay, I don't have time to learn on my screen. Please play me this kind of content in a podcast. or with a smart speaker. So we can provide all the content where you are. And a vision in the future, we can provide also the content in maybe in Tesla or some car with a big screen in front. So the goal from our side is providing learning content where you are, and not in this perspective. You need to go in the room or in the app, and that's it. So it's the way. If you jog, if you on the train, if you are on a smart home, a smart speaker at home, you can learn everywhere with every device what's on the market right now, and we want to implement future on.
So Rolf, just a question there. What makes it different to just using the internet, Google, YouTube?
Because the AI shows you what is the right content for you in the moment. So maybe you are in a step forward to a course of project management or a leadership course. The content predict, okay, you are in a step getting better in this kind of skill, but you need a bit more for different skill. So the AI predicts the content for you. But and that's another thing. But you are also have the freedom to get the content wherever you are, from the internet, from YouTube. But the base is the AI and giving you the content where you are, in which state you are.
Yeah. So just out of absolute interest, because I mean, that's totally out of my field. But what sort of factors does the AI use to determine what you might enjoy at the moment or want to do?
That's why I'm talking about the future, because we need to go slowly, because AI is in the moment, we need data. So every step what you do, of course, with the private, you're given all the private rights to us, but it's all transparent. With every step and every click what you do, the data are collected, and after maybe 10 courses from you or 100 courses from everyone else, it's a kind of prediction what would be the next step, including you are a participant in the course, you are having a chat in the group. It's all included in the data. So and all of this given you the right content, more or less the right content. But have in mind, I'm talking about AI, but as I'm saying before, that's not the only solution. We are having also a coach right behind with you, hand in hand, and you can always have the coach on your side. It's not not based on AI, and we have a self-paced learning platform. No, it's combining with a human coach trainer on the side.
Okay, well, you're speaking about the human coach. Obviously, you're covering the globe. How are you going to build that up in order to reach as many consumers as you can?
For the moment, we have a lot of coaches. I am a coach for myself for 20 years of experience in coaching and training in companies, but we have a lot of coaches besides with different skill sets. So we have coaches in Germany, in German speaking, in English speaking, and in Chinese speaking in the moment. But we can involve the global in Spanish speaking. And our goal is to have, as always, in a business case. It's not about having the school for kids or something. It's all focused on business skills, skilling, upskilling, reskilling. What you want, and answer the questions. We have the right coach for you and on your mind. So we have a lot of coach on the side, and you can pick and the skill sets from the coach. What you need, and you have the coach on your side, and he can talk you through your step up to this upskilling or reskilling what you want.
How are you going to verify the coaches that they are qualified or up to or experienced enough to do the job?
Thank you very much. That's a good question, because coach, I'm not sure if you know that coaching is a buzzword. No, it's not a buzzword, but it's not a word. It's not a school thing. Everyone can name it as a coach, but we have a quality assurance behind that. We have in the moment certified coach with a certification included. So that's the way it is. So we have a certified coach from a European and American certification standards behind.
Okay, so if somebody in, say, Buenos Aires, Argentina wants to be a coach, what do they have to do?
Of course, we have doing in a moment just application for email application, and then we in a moment I talk to them, because I need to feel the person, because it's not about digital, it's also about feelings, and it's the chemistry good, and then we have a talk. That's in the moment all, but in the future we will automate this. For step 1, send an application, then to step 3, talking to a chatbot, and step 3, talking to us, like me or some other people. But in the moment, it's just send in an email if you're interested. We can talk about it, and then, yeah, let's see.
So thanks, Ralph, for those really informative. We have a couple of questions from the audience. So Ferry had a question of, I think half of it you may have answered. She was asking what the AI and Lemoncube is mainly used for. So we were now, currently we're talking about Qfour.ai, which is our edtech and e-learning venture. I'm not sure we have plans to incorporate the AI for Lemoncube as well. That would be up to Ralph. And the second part of her question is, does this kind of business have a special relationship to Taiwan? I think because I'm in Taiwan and we're doing this. So I hope I translated your question correctly, Ferry. What do you think, Ralph?
Yeah, the second question, perfect. Yeah, because you are in Taiwan, and I think that's why we start in this kind of company then in Taiwan, Qfour.ai. And this first question is, yeah, in the moment we are starting the AI predict content to the right for the right course for the right learners, and this is the second one. Have an AI chatbot. Maybe a humanized chatbot. That's, I'm not sure what we're doing, but a humanized chatbot to talk through administrative stuff, but also if you have a problem with your team, he can talk to the coach, the AI coach first, and then we can show him then the human coach. So predict and chatbot. That's the first steps. But it's not all. We go in my vision, in my head, it's going forward. But in the first steps are predicting courses, content, not courses, content, and chatbot.
Awesome, thanks. I hope that answered your question, Ferry, and hopefully Pedro's questions were answered as well. Feel free to ask follow-up questions if you need to. We have another couple.
Sorry, Claudia. If they want to know more, we can talk afterwards here on the stage or in the lounge. More. That's
absolutely. Someone sent a thumbs up, so I think someone's questions have definitely been answered. Rob had another couple questions. Where do we source the learning content from? Do we have certain partners who provide the courses? That would be the first question.
Of course. Also, sorry, I'm mixing up some German words. Sorry. Yeah, we developing the content from ourselves in house in the moment. So we have content. Experienced content developer, and they are combining with the coach. So most of the content are from different coaches with a different skill set. So that's not content where we are Googled from the internet and rewriting it. So it's mostly really proved content from skilled coaches or trainer, what we included in the self-paced part, and also the trainer-led part, or the coach part, is also the content from the coach and from the trainer.
Rolf, on that note, are you going to standardize the layout and the way you put the content available? Like, for instance, a Wikipedia page. It's so easy to read because you know exactly how it's laid out and where to find the information you want.
If I understand correctly, I'm just answering like as I'm understanding. We have actually I have, that's because I'm coach. I have the layout and the sections included, and the trainer coach fill in the specific skill set, because I'm not skilled in every single business skill. So I have the layout fixed, and the trainer, the coach, filled in all the specifics for the skill set. And this is all, in our LXP included in a way. There are not just reading like a Wikipedia page. It's more interactive.
Okay.
And also included the social learning. So I'm not sure if you're aware of the social learning and corporate learning aspect. So we're including also groups, forums, and the part where maybe a participant can open up his own course. So we can, when you have an idea for a course, you can open up a course. We will review the course, and then you are the expert of the course. But there are also qualitative standards behind them. So we have we have a quality assurance that's always be a good content and a good course or a good learning content included. Okay.
Thanks for that, Ralph. I hope, Rob, that answered your first question. Rob had a second question as well. Pedro had to unfortunately leave, but he said thank you for the great talk and the great moderation, and I'm sure we'll catch him at some point again at another AMA session. So Rob's second question was, is the AI that we're already using based on Google AI, or where has this AI been developed?
In the moment, it's based on Google AI.
Okay, so for the moment, it's based. For the moment, it's based on Google AI, and hopefully that answered Rob's question. I actually have a question for Andrew. So related to Abled Minds Taiwan, and also to online learning and virtual learning, so empowering entrepreneurs with disabilities. Do you think, or could you envision Abled Minds and your empowerment sessions and what you're doing for Abled Minds to somehow collaborate with a virtual and online learning endeavor? Would that be useful for entrepreneurs with disabilities? And how so? What do you think?
Oh, for sure, for sure. We've got, I've got some really good examples here in Taiwan, for instance. People with, there is a vast amount of people with spinal cord injuries who cannot leave their beds or their bedrooms, or they can't leave their house. A lot of people with spinal cord injuries can't sit for long periods of time, so they have to lie down. And there are actually companies here in Taiwan which employ people with in those specific conditions. And it's actually super cool to see. They even develop special devices and software. So a person with severe spinal cord injuries who basically can only operate their eyelids, where they actually employ them now in things like word processing, editing. I've even seen them doing 3D animation already. So, you know, a lot of people who say spinal cord injuries had no access or had very little access to education before. And this is literally bringing it to them, right to them where they are in their own little world, which is basically their bedroom. And so it's going to bring a phenomenal change, because myself being blind, I have AI glasses that I use, and I can basically walk in the streets without a cane because of what the AI technology is doing for me. I mean, it reads my entire environment for me. It's still in its infancy, okay? But this is just to give you an example of it's so powerful of what you guys are working on. It's going to change the lives of disabled people immensely. And also, I'll just quickly throw another one in. I mean, we work with people with non-visual disabilities. So you can't see that the person has a disability, like people with whose kidneys are not functioning properly. So they have to be on dialysis machines for literally 11 hours a day. These people cannot leave their homes. It's same thing. You're literally empowering those people with incredible knowledge, which they never had access to. They couldn't go to physical universities. So keep on going. It's really going to change their lives incredibly.
Can I add something about the AI and what they can do? I tried last week, a chatbot, but it was just not a chatbot. It was a humanized chatbot, and the chatbot could read my my face. So if I'm sad or react in a different way, the AI could read this and ask me some question about it. And this is also infinite, not really on the end, but it's starting right now. And I think if we can include in the future something like that in our system, it would be bring an immense of people doing this really like a human interaction, and also with you, maybe with some spine injuries, can include training in their normal lives.
Yeah. It's, I mean, like exactly what you just explained with the AI picking up the facial expressions.
Yeah.
It's amazing, the technology out there. Like I explained earlier, literally the people were creating 3D models of things just by moving their eyes in directions and drawing lines and blinking their eyes. And it's absolutely amazing what it can do. So yeah, definitely an area to look into, because I think if you take something like text messaging, do you know why text messaging started? It was text messaging was first developed for hearing impaired deaf people in order to communicate with one another. And well, I mean, I don't have to say anything more. You know, we know what happened to text messaging. Everybody else uses it now. For instance, on my mobile devices and on my computer, I use a screen reader called VoiceOver, which is built by Apple, and it comes with all the Apple products. So I was driving with my sister in a car, and my sister was using a mobile phone while driving. She was sending text messages. So I said to her, no, man, don't do that. Just press this button 3 times, the home button 3 times, and then you can get VoiceOver to do everything for you. Yeah. So it took me about a couple of hours to teach my sister how to use it. She hardly touches a mobile phone nowadays. You know, it can lie on a table and she can just communicate with a mobile phone exactly the same way I do. So yeah, definitely these technologies do, you know, they start cross-pollinating to other areas.
However, sorry to say that, however, and that's I need to say because I'm all in the digital and I'm all AI, but in the end, I'm also a coach and a trainer. And that's what I need to say. We don't develop just an AI platform and that's it. We want to develop a combination about human and then the technique as a helping hand behind. So I need to say this because I'm always getting excited talking about AI and know new technologies, but I need to remind myself of always, we are building an ed tech who's combining this digital, really amazing stuff with a human base. So it's not just AI, it's not just digital, it's including, it's a combination of both.
That was a very interesting discussion bit. Sorry, I've been monitoring the live chat a bit and staying in contact with people. Mickey, unfortunately, has to leave as well. He has to get on another meeting. AirMeet has this really neat little poll function, so I started a poll and have asked people if they would consider attending another AMA session or event on AirMeet again. What they think of it, and it seems to be an overwhelming yes. I do enjoy the software a lot. I think it has a lot of cool functionalities. It's a bit more inclusive as opposed to Clubhouse that's currently only for iOS users. It also has great functions here, however, it's kind of, it takes a kind of more event character where you have a break room, you have sessions that you can start. In the paid version here, you can actually hop between sessions if you're interested in them, and then you have the virtual networking tables. So I really enjoy it, and it's great that you guys are enjoying it as well. So it seems that we've managed to answer all the questions. Good for us. All the questions that were in the chat as well. We've got about 8 people still here left over for the networking. We've got 7:08 now. We've gone through a lot of questions. We've learned a lot of things, and we're really happy that Andrew is able to join us today, and Ralph here as well. And we hope that we were able to add some new and interesting information and make your lives a bit more interesting with this AMA session. We'd be happy to make this a consistent thing. Maybe bi-weekly we would ask speakers to come on, different speakers from different subject areas, from different industries and things like that. If you guys are interested in speaking at all, that would be great. And yeah, we'll feel free to follow us on social media. Andrew has live sessions for Taipei Impact entrepreneurs through his Facebook group as well. If you follow him, he does live Facebook sessions on Wednesday evenings, I believe. And
Yes.
You guys have a Clubhouse event on Tuesdays. And for anyone who's in Taiwan, there are in-person networking sessions as well.
Yeah, definitely. Please feel free to join us if you are in Taiwan. And yeah, I think in about an hour, we've got our Zoom Facebook Live one as well. So check it out on Taipei Impact Entrepreneurs. Just look us up on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. I've tagged Andrew in a few of my LinkedIn posts, and on Facebook as well. I've tagged the group. So feel free to show up there, and there are always interesting speakers in Andrew's group as well. So I'm going to open the networking now. I'll invite all of you guys to the stage. You can feel free to come on stage or not. And when you're on stage, you don't need to use a webcam if you don't want to. You can also mute yourself if you don't want to ask anything. We'll just see how it goes. The way it works is that I send people invitations to come on stage. You can respond with a yes or no. There you go. See, Chen has joined the stage. I'll do the same for everyone here. Hi, Chen.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to hear you. Long time no talk.
Yes. Many years, I think.
Yeah, many years. Well, we've been talking kind of occasionally. Chen's a good friend of mine from back when I lived in Germany. When I first moved there, I studied engineering.
Yes.
in Aachen, and now he lives in Suzhou and is working for, remind me where you're working again, Chen?
Okay, I'm not at in Suzhou more, although I'm back to Germany since last year. I'm working for an automotive supplier. We manufacture single parts or technical system for the OEMs.
Chen, can I ask you where you're in Germany?
Where?
Yeah.
In Greifenstein, I think you can see it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's in the near to Gießen.
Yeah. Not far from me, actually. I'm near Frankfurt, so it's not far.
Yes. I thought you were in Berlin.
Yeah, the company is in the moment based in Berlin, but in the moment I'm near Frankfurt.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm still here. I'm just inviting people to the stage. You can't automatically invite everyone to the stage, so you kind of do it person per person. Let's see. I've been invited Jamie. Oh, there's Jamie. Hi, Jamie.
Am I up?
Yes, you are up. You're
Yes,
no
it's yours.
video yet, but voice is up.
All right. I thought anyway, I thought I put on the video, but I'm still figuring it out myself.
Hi, Jamie.
Hello. Oh, here it is. I see it now.
Yeah. Good. Very familiar voice there.
Hello, everyone. This is very cool. I'm sorry I kind of hopped on pretty well into the presentation, so I wasn't quite sure what was being discussed. But this air meet is very cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool function to interact with everyone, actually.
Yeah, I'll put my little 2 cents in here since it's not really my field, but it's much better than the clubhouse thing we all had last night. I think it's got nicer functions here.
Yeah, I think Claudia and I we're thinking about starting also on a clubhouse room, as I say, or something like that. But actually, I like the air meet because we can interact, we can see each other if we want to, and I think that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Rob. Rob just signed in. Hi. It's also been like really, really long time no see. I think the last time we saw each other was when we were studying in Cologne at university together, East Asian Studies.
Oh, God. Oh, now I just recognize you.
Yeah, I went through, I had this kind of moment of truth where I went through all of my LinkedIn connections and I was like, well, we're having this AMA session, might as well invite everyone I've connected with. And I went through my LinkedIn connections. I was like, man, there are a lot of interesting people here that I haven't connected with in a really, really long time. And Rob is one of them. Yeah, it's been such a long time.
Damn! Oh my God! Of course, yeah. I just didn't make a connection. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, it's nice to see you. And you've been to Taiwan as well. You said you lived in Taiwan for 3 years.
Yeah, from '99 to 2002.
Wow.
So just before Andrew got there, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. Huh?
Yeah, I came to Germany in 2000. 2002. Was that 18 years ago? Well, coming on 19 years ago, yeah.
What did you do back? Oh, sorry. What did you do here back then?
I worked for the Big Yellow Hippo. Is Hess still there? You know Hess Language Schools? Is it still there?
I know Hess. Actually, funny story. So my boyfriend now here in Taiwan, he works for Hess. He just started.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which branch?
Hess which branch? The Datong branch near Yuanshan station.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that one. I was in Hepingdonglu and Xinyilu. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, I don't know too much about Hess, but I know they're like super long standing, one of the language schools that's been around for a really long time. And I can imagine they've they've kind of branched out now with a lot of new schools. But yeah, he's really enjoying it.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun working with the kids. I don't know how everything's changed. I mean, those books, some of the books that we used to use were kind of corny, but actually pretty good. Yeah.
But I think it's like that with a lot of language teaching literature. I remember when I first started learning German back in Canada, I had a language learning book that was like, it still used Demach and stuff like that. It was incredibly outdated, like, I don't know, 50 years ago. And so when I actually went to Germany, I'd be using all of these really archaic and outdated sentences and yeah, exactly, like vocabulary and stuff. And it was so embarrassing. I had to like go to Germany to learn actual German.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I'm getting my master's now at NTNU here in Taipei for teaching Mandarin as a second language. And
nice.
One thing that kind of shocked me was because our department floor is like just like one floor above like the Mandarin training center there. So I get once in a while I get to see the textbooks they're using. The thing that shocked me was they were using the same one that I used 15 years ago when I started learning Chinese. I was like, any other field, if you hadn't innovated or changed it all in 15 years, you'd be dead. I don't know. It's just,
would it be this one? Hang on a second.
I don't think it was that one though.
but okay, just explain to me on that note what would change, because it's a language. It doesn't change that fast.
No, but think what we didn't have 20 years ago.
Well, actually, arguably, you could say that languages change pretty quickly.
Yeah.
At least in terms of like. Even the span of like maybe not 5-10 years, but certainly 10 to 20 years. I mean, just think like I'm not familiar with German at all, but even in Chinese or English for that matter. I mean, when I go back to the States now, like sometimes I don't understand a lot of the slang that my cousins are using.
Yeah, but okay, that sort of I understand that concept, but somebody like myself who's sort of at the low level Mandarin speaker. The basics are pretty much the same, don't they? They remain the same
for the most part, yeah.
But tell me about, while we're on this topic, and especially tying in with the topic of this event, like how did technology change language learning in the past? Since we started getting smartphones.
Well, I guess you've all heard of Duolingo, right? I mean, gamification.
Yep.
Gamification and language learning. I still get quite a few pretty basic students. You kind of think that having been through the German system, a lot of the students actually should have a good grip of English, but I still get quite a few people who are really kind of like false beginners. And the difference between what's the difference between I went and I have been, which is a huge thing, right, Ralph?
Oh yes.
Yeah, and that's what I was working on this morning with two ladies, one of whom I think she's in her late 20s, another one who's maybe in her 30s, and all of that stuff, the really basic stuff, because what is language? It's repetition. And platforms like Duolingo are absolutely great. And I've always said this. I found out about Duolingo about, I just finished 700 days and I lost one 100-day streak. So that gives you an idea of how long I've been using it myself. One of my students started using it because he wanted to learn Spanish. And I thought, this is excellent, because I've always said to my students, it's better to do little and often. Instead of like, I hear people, they spend absolutely Sunday afternoon, 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon, just plowing through God knows how much information. Yeah. What do you do for the other 6 days? And 5 minutes a day on Duolingo is so much better than, working for 2 hours solid on a Sunday afternoon. Okay, I mean, there's some stuff that you can't learn on Duolingo, that's for sure. But, the principle, little and often, is so much better.
Do you know Mondly? Called Mondly?
Mondly, Mondly.
Yes.
Okay, I'll check that.
Yeah, it's a kind of app with a virtual and augmented reality gamification included to learn languages.
Cool. I will make a note of that. And quizzes. I teach at a private university here actually in Cologne, and part of my course, since we went online, everything's been online. Like for my courses, at least English and Spanish, so I don't have to like travel between Karst, which is near Düsseldorf, and Cologne. And so, you know, I kind of teach semi-traditional, albeit online, but also every session we have a bit of a vocab quiz on business English, on HR English, and basically I just cut up a load of exercises and created quizzes. Do you know quizzes? Basically, I set up the game. People access on their mobile phone and they play against each other. Like it's who answers the quickest, who answers, who has the most accuracy, etc. So yeah, and the students, you know, they enjoy it. I think. Was that Mondly, right?
Mondly,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty.
Rolf, are you guys going to introduce or have language learning training incorporated on your platforms?
No, yes.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain yain.
No,
Yes.
no.
Yain is a mix of yes and no.
Yeah.
It's one of the most useful German words out there, in my opinion.
Actually, Andrew, that's a good question because we will include it because when we go out globally, so English, Chinese, and so most of the people are not really basic in the language. So I think we will include language learning, also intercultural aspects, because that's the most important point. I think, Andrew, you said it before, that it's all different when you open a business in Asia or a different country. It's also when you come in from Asia to open up a business in Germany. So it needs a bit more intercultural understanding and the cross-cultural understanding. So we will include some of these aspects too. Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. And also just a question on the influence, how is AI going to influence language learning? Jamie and Rob, how is that going to be incorporated into language learning platforms?
Well, this is actually something that I've messaged Duolingo about. Part of the Duolingo setup is that you have, basically it's just translation. And translation in comparison to real language usage is very much different, right? I think everybody knows that already. So what I suggested and what they said they're going to work on is, instead of translating the phrase, the game, the platform should ask a question. And of course, then the platform needs to be programmed to recognize a number of variable answers. Yeah, that you know, there's a huge scope for AI and language learning, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's for me, it's kind of a no-brainer that if an AI can speak English, then of course it can be programmed to also speak Spanish or Chinese or German or whatever language. Yeah, I mean, all the translation apps that are out there right now, all they need is a few tweaks and be able to, you know, to be used as a real teaching platform. I don't think, and let's hope that I'm right, I don't think it's going to change the need for a real living, breathing teacher. Otherwise we're all really screwed. But it, you know, the teacher can't always be there. You know, we have like set lessons, you know, set time every week. But for the AI, you can use that whenever, wherever.
Yeah.
Can I jump in? Sorry, Andrew, can I jump in? Because, yeah, I think you're right, Rob, because not if you want to learn a language at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm not sure if you're willing to do that on a regular basis to teach or coach them. I think what it could change is it's not going the way to train people, to learn people, more than to coach people, to begleite German, to give him hand and give him the right way. I think maybe that's the way language training changes. Not training as per se, you're saying this and this and this. It's kind of coaching, yeah. And the second thing what I want to say is I think we need to define what AI actually is. What we're talking about right now, when you talk to your phone, Andrew, it's also AI. When we talk to Alexa or Google Home, it's also AI. But that's not real AI. It's kind of an automation. I think we need to define what AI actually means for us or for that. And the third thing is you ask about what is changing for the language sector. I have some examples. Some schools are implant some kind of newsletter for the content. What it means is, as an learner, you can get in your LMS or whatever, and you pick in some points what you're interested to, some business or lifestyle things, and the AI picks from the internet all the interesting stuff, the content from the internet, and break it down to learning content. So you can learn a language with your interested content, what you are interested in, business or whatever. So it's one thing, but it's not an amazing thing for me, but it's one thing what I see in some language schools and some in online language schools. They are implanting this.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, after you.
Okay, I think what could be interesting is, like I said, I use these AI smart glasses. Okay, it's Google Generation 2 glasses, but with highly specialized software that was specifically developed for blind, visually impaired people. So as I walk in a street, it describes my surroundings, and it's very, very accurate. I mean, it tells me it's a trash can, it's a stroller, or steps going up and down, etc. So it could be interesting to have AI in it, which could predict the situation that I'm going to come up to. Like if I'm walking into a convenience store, and it's going to predict that I'm going to buy a coffee, then it can say to me what the Mandarin version is, of how to ask it or how to respond, or pick up what the clerk behind the counter says and tell me, how to respond.
Yeah, I like that very much. But as a German, my data protection sense are going right off the roof.
What is data protection nowadays?
Yeah, I know. Don't say that to me. I'm not this kind of always safe. But when we want to implant this kind of stuff in Germany or in Europe per se, it's a long way to go, because we have problems to pay with the credit card or Apple Pay in the shops. So that's the way we are now in Germany, about going in the digital area and all the data going out. But I think that's the way going. But if you're saying virtual or augmented reality, 2 years ago I have with a partner tried to implant actually a language thing with a AI, with a not Google class, with a Microsoft classes, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
It was totally cool, because you sit in the taxi and can ask the one who is the taxi driver virtually what's the direction in a different language. Totally cool, but it's not business. That's not a business case, because everyone needs a class. Everyone.
The combination of what Andrew was asking, but also what Ralph was explaining. If you had a very, very intelligent AI, and if you could really personalize language content. So, for example, let's take, you've got two, not particularly, one businessman who wants to learn English, and somebody who's into, I don't know, football, or somebody who's into sports, or I have no idea, UFOs even, right?
Yeah.
And the AI will know this, and they will scour the internet, and the grammar, etc., the sentence patterns could be completely the same, but the vocabulary would be completely different. So, and you know how it is that you learn, you're more willing to learn what interests you. And for somebody who really doesn't really have that much interest for business, then a business English course is not going to be for them. But if it can be absolutely tailored to what you really are interested and passionate about, even, then you're going to have a higher probability of success in learning that language.
See, Rob, it's what I would personally like, because I'm definitely a creature who wants to learn when I feel like learning something. Right. So if I'm walking in a park, for instance, and I feel like learning, I can just switch let's say the glasses on and put it on the Mandarin tutoring. So it's going to pick up, there are trees. So it's going to tell me what's a tree in that language, and a park bench, and, various objects and things around, a pond, fish. And you can set different levels, either just learning vocabulary or basic sentences, or more complex grammar, for instance. So it can immediately tailor it on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, if I may ask, are you 100% blind or visually impaired?
Legally blind, which is, I've got light perception, but yeah.
Because I'm just wondering, the glasses can see that, they can tell you in Chinese, but then you would have, unless you had enough grasp of the of Chinese to understand, explaining what is that. You have to kind of have some basics, you need a basis to build upon for learning a language. And for completely blind people, they would have to translate between English and Chinese, for example.
Yeah. I mean, it's got some translation on it, but it's it's still, the technology is very much in its infancy. So I forgive them for it's still being a bit on the lame side. But currently, it functions more on touch cues that you give it. So on the right hand side, where the touch screen is, you have to continuously do different kinds of finger movements and taps to instruct the device on what to do, to give it instructions. But it would be so much nicer if it could actually just pick it up automatically.
I don't know why Google Glasses didn't become more of a thing, to be honest, because
I'll tell you right now, the day I opened it, my dad bought it for me as a gift, and I opened it and I just put it back immediately. It's a clumsy thing. Thank God I can't see the people who stare at me when I use it in the street, because you look like RoboCop, So it looks terrible. So I went and I threw it back into the box. And my dad kept on asking, my dad's over 80 years old, and he kept on asking me, Andrew, are you using it? Is it working? So yeah, of course I lied to him and said it's great. And eventually I just felt so bloody guilty. So I started using it, and I realized, but it's quite functional and it's working, though it's in its infancy, but it's the hardware it's appallingly bad. I can see why it didn't work. If it's more something that looks like a normal Oakley or Ray-Ban nice sporty sunglasses.
Right.
Cool. But not this I don't know if you've ever seen the Google 2 Generation 2 glasses. It's awful.
I just saw I saw one guy, a Chinese guy, wearing them. I don't know if it's that particular model, but you could see there was a small screen on one of the lenses.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's the same design.
It's got this massive plastic arm on the right-hand side, and just a normal tiny thin metal frame on the front and on the left ear. But because the right side is where all the touch screen and everything is. But
I can imagine after you.
No, it looks absolutely terrible. And when it's got this protruding screen that comes out in front of your right eye, with a tiny little screen, and when the camera is embedded in.
Yeah.
So it really looks like a 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger, RoboCop thingy.
Oh my God. And I can imagine the weight being all on one ear. People growing up and wearing that for decades have this huge imbalance in where their ears are.
Evolution.
Am I a bad person for making jokes about that?
Go ahead. So lots of scope.
For sure. I mean, I would say it's definitely something to continue with that. I mean, just they need to work on the design, of course.
Yeah, but I think from a language learning perspective, it's going to be very interesting to see how AI is going to have an influence on it.
Yeah. When I did my studies in Germany, in Cologne, and very often I would use text to speech. So I would get the materials I needed to learn, and I would it was all in text, of course. A lot of it I found on the internet. I would convert it to MP3. And then I would go to the gym, and I would be listening to so much of this stuff in my headphones, and there's so many possibilities, for learning. If you need to learn, if you want to learn, sometimes you just have to kind of think a little bit, outside the box,
That's true. Actually, this is my cue. Sorry, I need to leave this networking session. Thank you very much to joining me and us. Hopefully, we see each other another way in the next session. Andrew,
cheers, Rolf.
Talk soon, I think. I hope.
Yes. No, definitely. Thanks ever so much. Much appreciated for the invite, and see you guys again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Rob, it was nice seeing you again, and I hope you tuned in to further sessions. We should connect more on LinkedIn. And I know 2 other people just tuned in as well, Lucas and Colum. Lucas is unfortunately at work. He'd love to join, but he can only listen for now. And Colum seems to have, so this is one of the pitfalls of AirMeet, I've realized now, is Colum seems to have joined on a mobile device, and I'm unable to invite people to the stage who are on a mobile device, probably because I think AirMeet might want to not invite people to the stage that have a loud background or are somewhere where it's difficult to hear, maybe have a bad internet connection. I'm not entirely sure what the idea behind that is. Jamie's on a call at the moment. I
can just make a suggestion that because obviously he's using this on a web browser, a mobile web browser. If you set the mobile web browser to desktop settings, maybe, I don't know, that could work.
Okay, I've tried messaging him. He hasn't answered. Okay. I'm not sure. I know AirMeet also has an app. If you download the app, it could be that functionality to invite people to the stage is reinstated. I know Colum Andrew and I know Colin personally, so if Colin wants to join again, I can get him to download the app, and that way he'll have better functionality. Yeah, so this is a very interesting discussion. I'm really happy we did this. We want to try and make it consistent, have different speakers, different topics, and make it open to everyone. And yeah, thanks for being here, Andrew. Thanks for taking time out of your day. And Ralph, we'll talk soon anyways. And yeah, stay connected, everyone, and have a lovely evening or day or whatever time zone you're in.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Okay,
Bye.
thanks very much. Take care now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.